Welcome to Jazz Lives on KGNU. I have Tamir Hendelman and Tierney Sutton on the line. They are going to be appearing on May 9th at Dazzle, two shows, 6 and 8:30 p.m. So, Tierney and Tamir, welcome to KGNU. How are the two of you today?
We're good. Thanks for having us, Rodger.
Wonderful.
No, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining me. Where are you today?
Well, we are in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're on the first portion of our tour, moving through the Great Lakes region, Cleveland to Wisconsin and
We were just
Chicago, all that
in
stuff.
Ann Arbor at a great club called the Blue Llama, and tomorrow we're at the Dakota, which is one of my favorite clubs in Minneapolis. And I bet a lot of folks in Denver that are jazz fans might know the Dakota.
How long have the two of you been touring together?
This is a good question. We started playing in the late '90s, but then we just became friends and remained friends. And I remember doing a tour with Tierney around 2000. It was a tour
2002,
of Europe.
we went to Europe.
2002.
Yeah.
It was a great tour of Europe where we really bonded musically. And then she and I just kept in touch. And about 8 years ago, I was invited to bring the two of us to Japan by a wonderful Japanese promoter who is all about the music. And I said, Tierney, I think this would be really fun for us. And it began a new chapter, which has been really wonderful and kind of continuing to evolve. We'll have some stories about some of the tours we've done since then, and also some of the how do you say it? Virtual tours, you could say. All
No,
the
that's
music that
true.
we've done
Yeah,
during
we,
the
we, we
pandemic.
got very, very, Tamir is not the kind of person that can be stopped by a mere pandemic. So within a week of everything shutting down, Tamir was not to be shut down. And so he started doing virtual concerts from his home. One night he would do Herbie Hancock, and the next night he'd do Harold Arlen, and it just went on. And then he decided to invite some pals, and I got to come and do one. And so I did, I don't know, I did a series. I think we did maybe
Six
five
maybe.
or six of them. And we did a bunch of them. And we even pre-recorded some. I did some where I recorded my part from Paris because I went to be with my husband in Paris for part of the pandemic. So it was quite an adventure, but it definitely bonded us, and we developed a lot of music over that period, and they were kind of arrangements and treatments of songs that were specific to Tamir and me, and we wanted to keep doing them. And so we started to book tours of just the two of us, and it's been really, really lovely. And I'm excited to bring this, back to Dazzle.
Well, and the chemistry, the nature, closeness of your relationship comes through greatly on your new album, Spring, that I have been listening to and find it just beautiful and totally appropriate for this time of year and perfect for, I only do one jazz show a month, and I try to do a playlist appropriate to the season or time of year or what's going on. And I love the tunes you have selected, and I love the treatment that the two of you have given to old songs, new songs, and different renditions of things that people are going to be very, very taken with. Tell me about what prompted you to the selections, and how do you guys handle arrangements?
Well, it's interesting because when we were in the pandemic, at the end of the year, we did a big program called The Seasons of Mercer. We were looking at all of Johnny Mercer's songs, and that sort of got us in this mindset of looking at spring, summer, autumn, winter. And I was very close to Alan and Marilyn Bergman, who were both still with us during the pandemic, and we just lost Alan. Marilyn passed in 2022, and Alan just passed in July. But he was one of our main consultants about these shows as we would do them. And I remember, for example, when I told him we were doing a Seasons of Mercer, he said, "You got to look at the summer wind. You got to look at that lyric. That is such a brilliant lyric." And so we started to do these shows. And then when we would tour or get private events, we've often been hired to do private things for people, for fans that that want us to do a special event, and often it would be during a certain season, and we just started to kind of lean on some of these ideas of putting things together as a season. And then here and there were just things that sort of became signatures that I did with Tamir, and in terms of how we deal with the arrangements, some of them were things that Tamir already sort of had in his pocket a little bit. Like the arrangement of Double Rainbow is something that Tamir did with a beautiful flute player named Lori Bell, and we adapted it for me. And Waters of March was my arrangement and my idea, and then many of the others sort of developed spontaneously on the road. We would basically do the song, and Tamir's brilliant, and he would come up with something, and I'd say, that was kind of magical where you went there. What if we kind of set that a little bit? And so it was just a lot of them emerged very organically. April Come She Will was like that. We did it during a spring live show that was recorded, and then we honed it. Like, okay, we know this is going to be this many bars, and we're going to do this. And so a lot of it is feeling things out as a live, spontaneous, improvised performance, and then coming back and saying, okay, how do we really fine-tune this?
I remember coming up with a little figure on this song that I absolutely don't love, Get Along Without You very well. And the story was that this was when people were beginning to make these collaborative Zoom videos where each person is recording their part and they do it together. But a lot of times people were pre-recording their part. And I said, Tierney, I think that there's a way that we could both record it at the same time if we're both on Zoom and on the phone, and one of us mutes the phone and the other one mutes the Zoom. And it was very elaborate but very funny, and it actually worked, and she maybe figured out a way to make it all work, but in a way that time in the pandemic where we had these obstacles in front of us, where we had to mask and we had to communicate, and we had to learn about technology and learn how to get good lighting and all these very practical technical things, you overcome them and you figure out a way to communicate despite of them. And even that in itself, I think the other thing is that we didn't just say, let's just come up with a few songs about spring. These songs kind of evolved in the mix of the moods of these songs, having some songs that are about loss and longing, and other songs that are about hope and renewal, and the season encompasses all of those.
Tierney, how do you handle singing at altitude in Denver, at the dry air?
Well, that's a good question. The last time I was at Dazzle was November of 2024, and I had just come back from Europe, and I was fighting getting sick. Long story short, I got through the shows. I had my neti pot with me. I was doing all of this stuff, and this is a cautionary tale, because what happened was we flew in and out of Burbank to Denver and back in 24 hours, back and forth. And by the time I got back, I had a double ear infection, and I had bad things oozing out of both ears, and I was terribly sick, and my ears were plugged for months after this. I had to do a run in New York City at Smoke with my ears plugged up like mad over Thanksgiving weekend. And I tend to be very, very careful anyway. I rest a lot. I don't go out after shows. I haven't noticed a dramatic difference when I'm in Denver, but my neti pot is not going to be used anymore, because I think what happened is I was fighting this virus, and I was trying to keep it out of my throat desperately, because I'd gotten COVID several times and had some vocal problems from COVID, and so happy that I wasn't getting a sore throat and it wasn't going to my throat. And instead, all of the flying and the neti pot pushed it into my ears. And so that was not good. But long story short, I take pretty careful care of myself. I just went out here in Minneapolis and I bought a bunch of immune things, and I sleep a lot. I have a cold steam inhaler that I use. Hopefully I'll be okay, because I'm flying in the day of the show.
How often have the two of you appeared in Colorado, in Denver, Dazzle, anywhere else?
We've done 3 shows at Dazzle over the course of a couple of years. Maybe this is our 3rd time, because I know we did one in the spring, and we did one in the fall, and this is our 3rd time as a duo. And I know that Tierney's done quite a few performances with the Tierney Sutton band, and I've performed here over the years with the Hamilton Trio, with my own trio, with the Clayton-Hamilton Jazz Orchestra. So I was telling you earlier before the interview that it's always something I look forward to. I mean, there's certain areas of the country, like whenever I go to the Northwest or to the Rockies, I'm excited about it because I love nature. I love the kind of elemental nature of the landscapes over here. I like that people are very outdoorsy. It's just a really nice scene.
And my father grew up in Denver. He lived there, and I still have some distant relatives that live in Denver that came to one of the shows that I did. So hopefully they'll manifest again.
Nice connections. What can people expect to hear when they come and see you at Dazzle on May 9th?
Well, they're going to hear some stuff from our new album, Spring.
Exactly.
And what are your favorite tracks? Tamir, what's your favorite track on that album?
I love Double Rainbow. I just think it's such a fun tune. And whenever Tierney has this line about the silver fox, I just love the spirit of the way that all these animals and the trees and the flowers inhabit that song. In fact, there's a beautiful video that was done for us using both the footage from the studio as well as images of birds and different animals. If you go to Tierney's YouTube page, you can see and enjoy that.
If you search Tierney Sutton, Tamir Hendelman, a Double Rainbow official music video, I mean, when you release stuff now on the streaming platforms, there is a stream that comes out on YouTube of just the cover of the album. But this is actually a lyric video that has the words of the song. It has video footage of us in the studio, and then has wonderful images, partly by Beata Walden, who did our cover, and then also a video design by Elijah Henry. And there's a fox. There's a fox, and he's really cute. So it's worth it to just check out the video because the fox is awesome.
Tierney, what is your favorite?
I really, really love April Come She Will, just because it's so meditative and it's so just sort of centered, and so I really like that. But I also I'm very attached to You Must Believe in Spring, which was written by my dear friends Alan and Marilyn Bergman. Mm-hmm. And the last verse that I sing is a verse that they wrote in 2005, and I don't think anybody else has ever recorded it. And I had recorded the song a few years ago on an album I did, Paris Sessions, with my husband, but I didn't record that verse, and so I'm very happy that I have recorded it now because it's suitable for our difficult times.
That is very special, and I will make it a point to play Double Rainbow and You Must Believe in Spring, and I particularly like your version of April Come She Will. Child of the 70s, Simon and Garfunkel were popular when I was going to college, and I remember that song well, and your version of it takes me to a totally different place. If you want to hear those songs and to get a copy of their new album, Spring, come to Dazzle. May 9th, shows at 6 and 8:30, so come out and see them. It's been my pleasure to have Tamir Hendelman and Tierney Sutton, and I look forward to seeing you and hearing you on May 9th.
Thanks so much, Rodger.
Thank you, Rodger.
You're very welcome. Take care. Safe travels.
All right.